Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagadgurum. Om. Adorations to Lord Krishna, the preceptor of the universe, destroyer of the forces of darkness, and bestower of immortality. Om Shri Krishnaya Namah. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 4, Yoga of Wisdom. And verse number is 24. Brahmarpanam Brahmavi Brahmagnav Brahmana Hutam Brahmaiva tena gantavyam Brahma karma samadhina. One of the most important verses of the Gita, speaking of the goal of life. One who sees Brahman as the oblation, Brahman as the clarified butter to be offered into the fire of Brahman by Brahman himself, he verily holds the perpetual vision of Brahman in action. Thus seeing, he attains Brahman. Highly condensed writing. Scriptures have spoken of the importance of yajna, performing fire sacrifice. Find an altar, bring a special type of wood to be used, kindle the fire, and in that fire you pour oblations. Oblations themselves are of different types. Clarified butter is one of them. And many sandalwood, many herbal materials, they all create a special aroma as you do sacrifice. And every time it is poured into the fire, a mantra is recited. So, and all those who join yajna, they all become entranced by all this goes on. They inhale lot of herbal materials, and their mind inhales lot of mantras, and the soul is patted by some special power. That yajna has to be understood. That's the subtle secret of living a purposeful life. More for deeper understanding, soul encounters three types of obstacles in the process of attaining liberation. First obstacle is called mala, gross impurities. Anger, hate, greed, all jumbled together in your mind and you don't know what to do. And day by day, variations go on coming. Same things go on coming. Mala. In sadhana movement, that mala has to become sublimated. So as if you are pouring your mala into the fire. And then it becomes sublimated. It becomes a fragrance, aroma. When anger, for example, is poured into the fire of divine love, what emanates from it is aroma of motherly love of God. This allegorical way of describing to you what happens when you do yajna. Pride, you offer it into the fire of spiritual understanding, and it turns into humility. So life is constant flow of yajna. Yajna can be sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. You can sacrifice a better quality of yours for a negative quality. You have been given before you in a dish very healthy food and very unhealthy food. You can put the healthy food away and take only the unhealthy. You sacrifice it. Or real sacrifice is when you sacrifice the negative in you. This word is sacrifice, but it's not. It's sublimation. And worse still, in the name of sacrifice, you find animals, good-looking animals, more good-looking, better the sacrifice. And sacrifice it with all the mantras, etc. The human beings are in so many levels, you see. All that seems so glorious for the mass level, but it is childish. Childish, and it is. This also is childish. All virtuous deeds are a form of yajna. All sadhana is meant to sublimate, work upon your mala, gross impurities, work upon your distractions, vikshepa, and finally remove ignorance. The highest state of yajna, the goal of yajna, is to understand that all stages and all aspects of yajna performance is nothing but Brahman, the Absolute. Think of, for a crude illustration, you are in a dream world. And of course, dream world is not satisfactory because ultimately it is not real. So there you are advised by your priest to do yajna. Now, who is the priest? Your own consciousness. What is that fire? That also is your own consciousness. All the materials that are using, the ladle, the spoon, the ghee, and all that is same, your own consciousness. Allow that type of understanding to blossom in your mind. Allow that type of understanding to shine. All is Brahman. And this type of attainment enables you to have Brahma Drishti. One who sees Brahman as the oblation, Brahman as the clarified butter to be offered into the fire of Brahman. And who offers it? Brahman himself. Such a person holds the perpetual vision of Brahman in action, which implies all activities in your life, all that is happening. If you have that profound level of understanding, it's the same thing as Brahma Gyan, knowledge of self. Though physically, mentally, as long as your personality is there, you will keep the personality busy. But no matter how busy your personality, the vision, all is Brahman, is not interrupted. It's called double consciousness. Even in your dream, imagine, suppose you realize it is a dream. Sometimes people have that type. Once you have that, now you watch the same dream, but in a way that whatever is happening in your dream, you take it as a leela, as a show, as a big humor. Because nothing is really happening to you. In your dream, you are falling from the roof. In reality, you are sleeping on the best bed we have bought. So, we are both at the same time. And in no way you are upset by it or affected by it. So the whole world experience becomes like a dream. Your own awareness of who am I is not ordinary. Brahman, the absolute, the only truth. Not one of many truths, but one absolute reality. Remember always the sun and many reflections. Many reflected suns, they are countless. But no matter how countless, the reality is only one, the absolute sun. So, if you come to realize Brahman, that process is called Jnana Yajna, the highest type of yajna. When you realize it, then even though you are playing your role in a bucket of water as a reflected sun, but you are not drowned in that predicament. You also know that you are in every bucket. And more so, you are the very sun that is shining behind all. Put it all in the profound way, there is nothing but the sun. Daivameva pare yagyam yoginah paryupasate brahmagnava pare yagyam yagyenaivopajuhvati. Some yogis perform sacrifice to please the gods. Others offer the self to be sacrificed by the self into the fire of Brahman. Sacrifice has two stages, sakamya and niskamya. Sakamya means every act of your sacrifice is initiated by your ego and with the expectation of ego-designed goal. What ego wants, your ego has developed the idea that you should go to Switzerland. Nothing against Switzerland. Just a parable. So you pray, "O Goddess Lakshmi, bring me money enough. Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha. And today I am going to fast to please you. I will be doing so many other things." We are doing a lot of sacrifices and worshipping the Devi, and you are doing japa and meditation, but with this mind set on, please fulfill my desire, this is what I want. And you receive the boon. Puja hi manah kamanat bari. Your desire will be fulfilled. To the world, it's the best thing. But there is a higher yajna. Because if you stay with that, you are going to heavenly experience called swarga, is astral pleasure. And astral pleasure, even though it is beyond measure, it will not give you absolute fulfillment. And worse still, your disease of recurring incarnations, coming back again and again in the cycle of birth and death, that does not terminate. Must realize a type of misfortune awaits for the soul. If the soul has nothing but to pursue ego-based expectation. Here again you have to understand ego. All your expectations always has ego, but ego should be sattvic. Purified ego based upon surrendering to God. That type of ego that enjoys divine love and has understood self-effacement as the goal. That ego is not a hurdle. That ego is rather a divine gift. So some yogis offer sacrifice to please gods. That's what I have explained to you, pleasing gods. For the sake of fulfilling your desires. Others offer the self to be sacrificed by the self into the fire of Brahman. The other one is absolute self-negation. And that is possible when you practice. Sanskrit word is nididhyasan. First, allow your mind to understand through shravana, listening. By listening, allow your doubts to move away regarding who am I? What is the nature of the world? That is your target to understand. And scriptures go on telling you that instead of going after the world, what this world is, go after how are you experiencing the world. Go after your instruments. You have put on a blue glass, everything looks blue. And then you go and ask questions about so many blue things, millions of them. We instead ask about, move the blue away and try to find what is the source of seeing all that. What is the source of experiencing the world? The answer is your senses. But what activates your senses? Senses themselves don't experience. Mind is behind them. And what activates your mind? There is reasoning, buddhi behind it. And behind the intellect, what a strange power is there? It's cosmic. God's mind, God is ultimately, God is the source. So that, when you listen to all this and allow your mind to become, first by listening, doubts begin to move away. Your mind is not on shaky grounds. When you are told the world is Maya, not a matter of, some people say it is not, some people not like that. The mind has absolute understanding. Doubts move away. The second type of obstacle is called asambhavana. Asambhavana means a sense of impossibility. You have calculated your own status, how many bad karmas. And when you begin to hear that your goal is liberation, you make up your mind that it is true, whatever scriptures say. But I can't do that because I know how many bad karmas have I done. So it will take at least 4 or 5 more births. So you are constantly evaluating yourself and coming up to the conclusion, asambhav is impossible for me. That is removed when you begin to get into meditative state. In Raja Yoga, you hear the word meditation, which simply means no matter what object of your meditation, allow your mind to just stay focused on it. But that is a preparatory level. Jnana Yoga focus on an insight. Insight you have gained by studying the scriptures. Aham Brahmasmi. I am not the body, I am not the mind. Follow the whole process through understanding and lead yourself to subtlest level where you view your whole personality as a dream and stay with it. Moving towards that removes the sense of impossibility. That's called manana. You are reflecting upon what you have heard. And the third stage, nididhyasana. Nididhyasana now is more spontaneous. Since you realize that behind all names and forms, Satchidananda is hiding. So, your mind has simply flows on to what is behind all names and forms. And that again is a progressive movement. It doesn't flow on immediately, but gradually you begin to assimilate. That's called nididhyasana. That's the highest yajna, to come to the state of nididhyasana. Others offer the self to be sacrificed by the self into the fire of Brahman. There's a Hindi way of saying, यज्ञ से यज्ञ का यज्ञपन नष्ट करना. By your yajna, the sense that I am performing yajna is led to dissolve. The sense I am performing yajna, that becomes your ahuti. That becomes your oblation. Figure that out. How can that happen? In other words, when you begin spiritual movement, your practice is blended with a lot of effort. There's the difference between sadhana and siddhi. In sadhana level, you learn certain things and you go on practicing. In siddhi level, it is spontaneous. A simple way to understand, if you are learning some language, in sadhana level, every letter you have to learn and write separately in clear terms, and you have to remember it. But when you become accomplished in a literature, you are not looking at your fingers do all that. Words flow. You are not doing any sacrifice. It's all spontaneous. Similarly, when you are practicing sadhana, you are looking for what are my defects. I become irritable, I become angry, I begin to grieve over little things. Now, and therefore you go on recognizing and do effort to correct it. But there comes a time, correction happens automatically. In every level, even in a sport, certain things you learn in the beginning, every movement you have to remember. But when you're accomplished, you are simply playing like a fun, jumping up and down, making a circle, chakra. That's how you have offered yajna into the yajna. The sense of performing yajna itself has become offered into the divine of movement. Play of words, but profound meaning. Shrotraadin indriyanyanye sanjamagnishu juhvati shabdadin vishayananya indriyagnishu juhvati. Some yogis offer the ear and other senses into the fire of samyama, while others offer the objects into the fire of the senses. Three great techniques are adopted in the sadhana. One is called nigraha. Nigraha means completely withdraw. Turn your eyes completely away from things that tempt you. Next one is samyam. Samyam, don't turn away absolutely. Keep a moderation. Don't adopt extreme. And the third one is bhakti, devotion to God. Be led by God within you in handling and controlling your mind and in that whole spiritual movement. So some yogis involve their senses in the fire of samyama. In other words, if you completely stop your senses, in some stage it will be helpful, but it cannot be helpful constantly. Your senses have to bring you knowledge from the world. And through that knowledge you experience, you grow. So, let me remind you of parable from Buddhism. First stage, Buddha took up the project of extreme measure. He went on sitting with meditation without eating, etc. And in divine plan, he was to be guided to do the right thing. So while he was doing his intense austerity, 3 musicians passed by with the veena. And what they were singing, one was, do not tune your veena too loose, there will be no melody. Do not tune your veena too tight. Before you start playing, the wires may break, the strings will break. Neither tight, neither too tight, neither too loose. Play your veena. And that was the song going on right before Buddha's eyes. And Buddha learnt lesson that sadhana should not be extreme. If you do extreme, you are not moving on the right project. But when you keep in moderation, put it another way, you suddenly became interested in sadhana. You created a schedule that is so tight that everything to the second. From morning, that much japa, that much meditation, that much. Now, keeping a precision with such stiff manner, you end up with a mind that is full of stress. On the other hand, what moderation means, be flexible. Create a plan that comes like a rhythm. And so when the same style items have gone into a melodious rhythm, you have no problem. Rather, you become more inspired. A time to wake up, a time to have your breakfast, a time to rest, a time to handle. So, that style is called samyam. That's called moderation. Golden rule of moderation. And that has to become a part of your life. Otherwise, you will be doing abrupt movements. To correct a certain error in your personality, you adopt something that is so extreme, it led you to another type of trouble. But when you keep it in a moderation, style of moderation, now you have much more possibility of having more time, more energy, more understanding. You are on the right course. सर्वाणि इंद्रिय कर्माणि प्राण कर्माणि चापरे आत्म संयम योगाग्नौ जुहुवति ज्ञान दीपिते. Some yogis offer functions of all the senses and pranas into the fire of self-restraint, which shines with the luminosity of wisdom. This refers to the whole Raj Yoga plan of 8 limbs, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama. But when you come to the practice of dharana, dhyana, samadhi, concentration, meditation and profound samadhi, this entire process is meant to be on the self. Concentration on who am I, not any object you choose. This is just like one is kindergarten type, another is advanced type. And same concentration becomes meditation, nididhyasana, when it flows like you pour oil from one bucket to another. The pouring process is continuous. Tail dharavat. And this leads to revelation, sakshatkar, realization. And that's the highest type of yajna. द्रव्य यज्ञ, यज्ञास्तपो यज्ञः योगे यज्ञः तथा परे स्वाध्याय ज्ञान यज्ञाश्च यतयः संश्रित व्रता. Now all these points are brought together, summarizing it. Some practice sacrifice relating to the material objects, relating to dravyas, but there is a deeper meaning behind it. You practice sacrifice using substantial aspect of your personality, not ordinary material object. What is substantial? Substantial is very flow of your life. That's the art of surrendering to God through your action. Some perform yajna of austerity, disciplining your body, mind, etc., doing more japa, etc., all those austerities. Some the yajna of swadhyaya, when you study the same scripture, not same scripture, study the scripture again and again, do your japa, that's swadhyaya yajna. And the yajna of jnana, as you go on practicing inquiry, satsanga, and gaining insight, you're practicing jnana. Some are devoted to the yajna of yoga, 8 limbs of Raja Yoga. Some rare souls are keepers of these rare vows, practicing the great virtues in an unrestricted manner. To summarize it, these are the outline of yajnas. Dravya yajna, which has 2 meanings. General meaning, utilizing your wealth for gaining spiritual wealth. Act of charity. Dravya, material substance. And as I've also said, real substance is allowing your life to be led by love of God. Then the whole life is moving. It's more substantial. Tapo yajna, austerity of body, speech and mind. Yoga yajna, all yoga practices leading to equanimity of mind. Swadhyaya yajna, practice of japa and study of scriptures. It also includes kirtan, prayer, all that come under swadhyaya yajna. And jnana yajna, that type of vichar that separates the self from the not self, developing that discriminative intellect. So, turn your life into yajna movement. Any one of these yajnas or many of these yajnas, yajnamaya jivan, let life flow with the spirit of sacrifice. And with this I will conclude. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.